Hello, and welcome back to the Gentle Healing Podcast. I am your host, Beth McIntyre, a certified emotion, body, and belief code practitioner. On today's episode, I wanted to talk about something that I see increasingly common with both clients and people I work on. Something that more and more often I see people coming to me for support and also just in the general population. This seems to be an increasingly common issue, and that is insensitivities, intolerances, and allergies. As you're probably aware, this is something that is becoming more and more common in society today. But what if I told you that your sudden allergies or insensitivities or intolerances were probably not actually caused by the physical allergen itself? So this is something within the body code perspective. We have two types of, we actually consider, I know in a lot of places they consider an allergy as insensitive and intolerance sort of to be the same thing. But within the body code framework, we actually consider allergies and intolerances to be two very separate things. Although they may cause very similar reactions in your body, what is actually going on within the body is a little bit different. So in today's episode, I'm going to talk about both of them and what they may mean for you, and hence maybe why the body code can finally help with these unexplained and sudden allergies and intolerances that you may be experiencing. So an allergy in the body code is when your body, and this very, very little of the time actually has to do with the physical allergen itself. But what is happening within the body is that on a subconscious level, the body has associated this, whether it be a substance, a food, maybe an environmental toxin, something in the environment. It is actually formed a subconscious negative association with it. So it's not actually that you are allergic to the physical thing itself, but that your subconscious, for whatever reason, and most likely it is normally what I see is that it is due with either trapped emotional energy or a faulty belief system or some other sort of negative energy that is trapped in the body. And much like with the belief system, your body has then associated, it has formed an unconscious association with this substance or this thing. And as a result, the body feels that thing is unsafe, and so it has a negative reaction towards it. Now, what I mean by that is, for example, say as a child, you were eating dairy. Maybe you had a lot of milk as a child. And then one day you got food poisoning from some off milk. And as a result, maybe after that, you started getting a very negative sort of allergy-like reaction anytime you drank milk or dairy or cheese. Now, this is a very surface level example, but this is kind of how I'm trying to see the point here. So it's not necessarily that after that time, it's not necessarily that your body then has a physical allergy to that thing. It's that on a subconscious level, your body has associated it with something unsafe. And so this could be something as literal as that, or it could even be, say, as a child, your parents used to fight a lot. There used to be a lot of anguish in the house. And maybe sometime you literally don't even remember, you were eating pizza. And during that time when you were eating pizza, your parents were having a full-on argument, like maybe, shouting, screaming, throwing things, maybe even physically abusive, and you were terrified at this point. And so your body from then on, that has formed this on some subconscious level. In the conscious mind, it seems very illogical. But you have to remember that the subconscious mind, the body, is not logical. Not in the way that our logical mind, our conscious mind thinks. It does not make these sort of like black and white or one after the other kind of associations. Its associations can feel very random or very illogical to the conscious mind. And so because maybe in this example, this is this extreme feeling of like unsafe, you're feeling very unsafe in this moment, your mind, and as an adult, maybe you've completely forgotten about this, like, or not even like forgotten about it, but like you had no idea, you had no memory that you were eating pizza at that moment. You may remember the fight because it was so dramatic, but you may not remember the pizza. And yet, all these years you've had this allergy to not even dairy, just pizza cheese. You see what I'm getting at here? So it's not necessarily about the physical allergen. It's that the subconscious mind has it on some level, for some reason, we may not even know why consciously, formed a negative association, and because the body has that negative association, it now reacts in a very, it feels very unsafe. It associates this thing with something very unsafe, and so it reacts in what we may feel is a very violent way. And this can also happen, for example, maybe your ex-husband used to wear a certain cologne. And you may not consciously realize this, but suddenly you start having an allergy to maybe that cologne or something similar to that cologne. And it's not that you actually have a physical allergy to that cologne or that smell. Again, it's because you may associate that with maybe like, some very, a bad breakup, or maybe like, violence or emotional abuse. You may have this negative association with it. Maybe you had an argument during a time when you could smell his cologne very, very strongly. He may have just put it on. And then you may have had an argument. It doesn't even have to be something big or traumatic. It could just be you felt very upset in the moment. And so then your body, for whatever reason, completely unbeknownst to you, formed this negative association. And then whenever you smelt that cologne, maybe something else bad was happening and you formed new associations. And that allergy, so to speak, to that cologne only strengthened as more negative associations were formed around that. And that's what we often see. And then on the other side of that, what we call in the body code intolerances, and this is, in this day and age, I see this is very, very, very common. Especially a lot of people have this that are under a lot of stress, and it's very common because on a day-to-day basis, we have so much external stimuli coming at us. And this is basically the basis of an intolerance. It is not that the physical substance is you actually have any kind of physical allergy to it or any even negative association with it. You have no negative association. Your body completely tolerates the substance or the thing, the food, whatever it is. But your body has a certain capacity. As you know, if you're stressed, if you're sick, you're run down, you're tired, you often have less capacity to deal with things, right? And that is basically what's happening. Some people may notice, and I've seen this in clients and I've heard this from other people, is that, you may be completely fine with a certain food. Maybe on a day-to-day basis, you have your digestive system feels very top-notch. You don't get bloating. You feel very good. You on a general basis, you feel good. And then a week comes and maybe it's like a deadline coming up. You feel very stressed, and then maybe you're getting run down. You're feeling like you could be getting sick. And suddenly you start feeling bloated. Your body starts reacting to foods that maybe in general on a day-to-day basis when you're healthy, you have no issue with. But suddenly your capacity has gone down dramatically. And so your body's ability to process certain things has gone down. And so if we think of it like, for example, say you take a bucket, and the bucket has a capacity of 1 liter of water. And when there's nothing inside the bucket is completely empty, and you can think of your bucket as your body, right? The bucket has nothing in it. It has a capacity of 1 liter of water. So you pour water in and it's at full capacity 1 liter. And it takes 1 liter of water for it to start overflowing, for its capacity to be full. But now, say we put rocks in that bucket. We put some big rocks in that bucket, 1, 2, 3, and obviously we've reduced the capacity of the bucket. And this is what you can see in imbalances, right? So if you have a lot of trapped emotions, you have physical misalignments, structural misalignments, whatever it may be, your stress, inherited trapped emotions, heart wall emotions, faulty belief systems, anything that is overloading the body, that is causing stress on the body. And most of the time we find most of this tends to be trapped emotional energy. But this trapped emotional energy is basically, you can consider this like the rocks, right? So it is reducing your body's capacity to process things. So now, when we pour that water into the bucket, it only takes maybe 100 mils for it to start overflowing. And so, as we can see, the capacity is greatly, greatly reduced. And this is exactly what is going on in your body. So it's not necessary that in majority of cases you may not actually have any physical allergy to anything that you're reacting to at all. It's just that maybe there's like stress that's going on, trapped emotions, maybe you've got a problem with your sleep cycle, you're not sleeping properly, maybe your diet isn't very good, maybe you've got addictions to sweet food or certain foods or alcohol, whatever it may be that isn't good for your body. The body code can help with all of this. So in many different ways, it can look at the incredible thing about the body code. It increases your body's capacity by looking at things like stresses, like obviously trapped emotions, but also, anything that could be interrupting sleep, anything that is causing you, maybe you have a lack of motivation to move and exercise, anything that is reducing your overall health and hence reducing your capacity, the body's total capacity to process things or deal with certain external stresses or process life, right? And then on top of that, we can also look often at the physical, like the intolerances and all the trapped emotional energy usually, but other things as well, other imbalances that are directly causing that intolerance to certain substances or food. And on top of this, because we live in a world right now where every single day each human being is exposed to so much external stimuli, way more than any human being has been like in the past on a general, in the general population. We have so much information coming at us, like obviously there's things like the kind of food we're taking, we've got chemicals and processed food. And then you've got external stimuli of like just toxins in the air and toxins, plastics, blah, blah, blah. And then you've got other things like the amount of information that gets bombarded at us that we are taking on a daily basis from social media, notifications on your phone, emails. We're extremely connected to people. We feel this, a lot of time, this kind of underlying pressure to always be there and on call and available for people in our lives and, responding to messages. And then you've got the news and you've got, YouTube and people online and billboards. And if you're driving in traffic, that's a stressor. And you've got work and kids and just so many things, noises and messages. And there is just so much information that a single human being is taken in on a daily basis, and we may not consciously realize that all of this is reducing our capacity. So the body code allows us to increase that capacity as much as possible by releasing imbalances that are reducing the capacity. So given this, we can use the body code to basically show us that, and this is very common with clients. I have a lot of clients. This is often, I have worked with many clients now who come to me for like intolerances and allergies to foods and to things. I've worked with both children and adults on this. And it's something that I see great success with. The body code is very good at this kind of thing. So if you are someone that has a lot of, intolerances, or as an adult, sudden unexplained allergies to food, the body code can very much help you. So that's all for today's episode. I hope this was extremely informative. I really want people to know that most intolerances and most sensitivities and allergies these days, not all, like there is a caveat here, like this is not medical advice. You should always seek medical advice. This is not, the body code is not used as like a medical diagnosis tool. If you have severe allergies and need like an EpiPen or something like that, you should always carry that. This is not a substitute for things like that. But in this day and age where we see increasing the amount of like people with, like dairy intolerance and celiac and immune disease like issues and just so many things, our bodies are so overwhelmed. The body code is incredible for this, for increasing the capacity and showing you that no, it's not necessarily you have an allergy. It's just that your body's overloaded. And when your body's overloaded, it is not able to process life and substances and things and foods like it should. Your body is very intelligent. Your subconscious mind is extremely innately intelligent. It has capacity, so much capacity. But when we can take those rocks out of the body, we can allow it to use that capacity. So if you'd like to book a body code session, I've left the booking page in the show notes, but you can just go to my website www.bemhealing.com and you can book in a session with me. I have both single sessions and I have an 8-week program which just allows you to just have a session every single week with me. There are no calls, no appointments. It's very easy. You do not have to talk through your past. You do not have to relive anything traumatic. It is done very easily, very simply, and very naturally. So, thank you for listening to this another short, simple, easy to digest episode. Well, I hope that is the aim of this with these episodes. I do not want to make them like an hour long. I want to make them short and easy and digestible. So it was very informative, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!